Today, let's break down the feeling of using finger power and get into the specifics. First key point, what is finger power? Let's try an exercise together. First, forcefully rotate your wrist forward. Now, forcefully rotate using just your fingers. Compare the two. Which feels more powerful, your fingers or your wrist? You'll find your fingers are more powerful. Isn't that surprising? We'll use this feeling of finger power to understand friction. When it comes to hitting, finger power plays a minimal role. The impact mainly comes from forearm snap and overall arm acceleration. Power comes from arm acceleration. Friction comes from finger acceleration. You must understand that accelerate without muscling is the essence of table tennis. Because if you simply add force, you'll make many unforced errors. Arm acceleration produces the shot's quality. Finger acceleration produces the ball spin. It's the fingers that accelerate the racket, not how hard you rotate your wrist. A forceful wrist rotation doesn't guarantee more spin or better spin handling. The acceleration from your fingers is much stronger and faster than from your wrist. Therefore, your fingers should lead the racket face's rotation, the fingers drive the wrist. This is the first key point. The reason your brushing is poor might be because you rotate the racket with a forward-pushing wrist. Rotating this way at the moment of brushing the ball easily turns into a forward-pushing motion. Because your wrist has to push forward to rotate, it results in a pushing action. This is why your loops often go into the net. As for the second type, without the forward push, your loops will definitely hit the net because you can only rotate upwards. Many people loop like this. You can't go forward because you're cupping the ball with your wrist. You can't generate proper friction this way, so you end up just lifting upwards. This indicates a problem with your wrist position. But using your fingers is different. Even if your wrist remains in the same position, your fingers can perform an outward rotation and inward closing motion. Even if your wrist is pushing forward, your fingers can still wrap inward. This is why finger power allows you to open the racket face at contact. At the instant of contact, the fingers drive the racket face in an opening, closing, and rotating motion. The fingers drive the racket face, while the forearm and arm drive the overall swing structure. This is how you complete the opening and closing motion. If you only use your wrist, it can only push forward. But your fingers have the space, range, and arc to create rotation. Try it yourself. When rotating your wrist, you either push forward or you have to hook upwards. Now, try using your fingers. Open the wrist, and rotate inward with your fingers. This is the secret. When we loop, our wrist definitely isn't hooked. It should be open to expose the hitting surface. After opening the racket face, you must use your fingers to wrap the ball. This is the opening and closing. Open the racket face, open the wrist, then rotate inward with your fingers to wrap the ball. Now look at the arc of your shot. If you always use a forward-pushing wrist to create friction, you're only rotating the wrist, not using your fingers. Only finger rotation can truly wrap the ball. Start small, then engage the arm and body, and your loop will improve. The shot's quality comes from arm acceleration. The shot's spin comes from finger acceleration. Remember, accelerate, don't just add force. Don't just swing bigger. Third point, how is finger power transferred to the racket? Try this. If you squeeze the handle tightly with all 5 fingers, the racket becomes rigid and dead. This applies to both penhold and shakehand grips. So, to use finger power, you must understand the division of labor among your fingers. Index finger applying pressure, middle finger supporting, thumb pressing down, thumb rotating down, etc. To truly use finger power, it's not about all fingers applying force at once. You must differentiate the force. Normally, your hand grips with 30 to 50% effort. But at the moment of contact, you must emphasize the force from 1 or 2 fingers while the others maintain that 50% grip. That is what we call effective finger power. If you grip the racket too tightly, any force you add is wasted. It's as if your fingers aren't being used at all. For example, with a penhold grip, when the back 3 fingers support the racket, the thumb and index finger should just be holding it. This allows you to feel that burst of acceleration from the fingers. If all your fingers are squeezing tightly, the racket is locked, which again hinders its acceleration. This is a major problem. But you must remember, at the moment of contact, some fingers are for gripping, while others are for supporting the racket. The fingers themselves don't have much strength. For instance, I can't even break a price tag string with just my fingers. Fingers aren't for raw power. So what is their function? It's to support the blade, not to generate force. By supporting the blade, for a topspin shot, using Shakehand as an example, the index finger provides forward support to the racket. At the instant the racket contacts the ball, your finger must support it. A quick push from the finger provides that support. Finger power is really finger support. The fingers themselves are not strong and can apply only limited force to the ball. But at that moment of contact, whether your touch is solid or soft depends entirely on your fingers. It's the same for backspin. The middle finger isn't generating force. It's providing a quick push of support at the instant of contact. At the instant of contact, a quick push from the middle finger. For topspin, my fingers ensure the racket pushes forward solidly, not just brushing upwards or sideways. Against backspin, I use my middle finger to support the blade at contact, which helps the racket face rotate. Don't just push dead forward or dead upwards. You want the racket to have that instantaneous, short burst of friction. That is finger power. That is finger support. It's not about swinging hard with your fingers, but about bracing against the ball at that exact moment. It requires a forward and upward force component, allowing the racket to instantly grip and brush the ball, especially against backspin. It doesn't play a huge role, but it makes your contact against topspin more solid and your loop against backspin more full-bodied. Because in a match, your mind can go blank. When your opponent pushes, you can't lift the ball just with your big swing. But with a quick push from your fingers, you can at least neutralize their spin. The fingers must act at the exact moment of contact, and it's a very brief forward or upward action. Any shot involving friction uses this subtle finger power. It's a sharp, concentrated burst of energy. The reason you can't generate finger power is, 1, you're not used to it, and 2, your overall grip is too tight. If you're gripping with 80 to 90% strength, how can you possibly create friction? Tension at contact turns the shot into a flat hit, causing you to stop your motion too early, fail to create an arc, or make your contact feel weak. Because there's no acceleration. The principle of looping backspin is, the heavier the spin, the more you must accelerate, or you'll hit the net every time. So you must accelerate at contact. There must be a clear change of pace from your backswing to your forward swing to lift a heavy backspin ball. At the same time, the friction at contact is also key. So we need to feel this. During the backswing, before contact, my grip is at 30% effort. At the moment of contact, I use maximum finger strength to support the racket. Look, keep the hand relaxed at 30% effort, support the blade at contact, then complete the follow-through. Only when you find this feeling can you truly create and handle spin. Look at the old-timers in the park. How many of them squat down with waist rotation and hip drive? None. The park players all use small movements, mini loops, small lifts, but why do they get the ball on the table? It's because their contact is excellent. They've definitely found the essence of it. They are relaxed before contact, make solid contact, and have a process of acceleration. So I believe amateur players should focus on finding this essence. Even if your form is wrong, your consistency will improve. You might lack power, but if I can get one more ball on the table than you, I win. Why use fingers? Because at the moment of contact, they help your racket create an arc. They can guide the ball in a forward or upward arc. So when you're nervous, your hand is stiff, your footwork is off, and your mindset changes, your fingers are your most reliable tool. Because a tremor in your fingers is minor, you can at least get the ball on the table. But if your whole arm shakes, the ball could fly anywhere. The second reason for poor finger power is your grip. There are too many gaps between your hand and the racket. For example, if your grip is too loose, your middle finger can't apply any force. Many amateur players have gaps between their index finger, thumb, and the blade. It's the same for pen hold. A grip that's too loose is no good. It needs to be relaxed but secure. When I grip, my thumb and index finger must be completely flush with the racket. Being flush and applying force are two different things. If there are gaps under these two fingers when you play, you won't be able to secure the racket at impact. And the face will definitely be unstable. This includes our penhold grip. Many players grip like that, but for penhold, the forehand support is naturally good because you cover a large area. If your three back fingers aren't even applying pressure to the blade, what's the point of playing penhold? You might as well just hold it loosely for more flexibility. You must open these three fingers. The middle and ring fingers should be supporting the blade. Don't curl them completely. On the forehand side, press them against the blade. Try it. The power transferred from these three fingers is much greater than in shakehand. That's why penhold forehands are so strong. Now let me talk about the shakehand grip. For shakehand players, if your index finger is angled upwards, you will never be able to use finger power effectively. It may look like your racket face is angled down, but if you take the racket away, your finger is bent so unnaturally that it's impossible to apply force. Why do I tell everyone to point their index finger down? Because this creates space for my middle finger to push up. See? Now there's room to push up. For topspin shots, you don't need this upward push, so pushing forward is fine. But against backspin, your index finger must point down. When the index finger points down, the middle finger has room to rotate. See, point down, rotate, point down, rotate. This is how I can rotate the racket face. I really like Fan Zhendong's forehand loop. His looping philosophy is very similar to my teaching philosophy. Look at his forehand loop, it's all like this. I've never played against him, but I can tell his spin must be incredibly strong. Because he wraps around the ball to loop it. Many of us just push through it, which can't create spin. So for shakehand players, your index finger must point towards the ground. This allows me to wrap the ball at contact to generate a loop and spin. Our goal isn't just to return the opponent's push. We want to loop the ball with heavy spin, to make it kick off the table. So, for the shakehand grip, lay your index finger down. The flatter, the better. The more your index finger points up, while it might feel comfortable, any ball that goes over is just luck. It has no real spin. As for the middle finger, I still recommend you keep it slightly pressed against the blade. I don't recommend placing the middle finger too low, or you lose support. I believe the middle finger is crucial for both forehand and backhand against backspin. But don't grip too high either. Just have it nestled against the wing of the handle, and use it to apply force on backspin balls.